All right, so what we got here is interesting little scenario here. This is a dove field. Actually, it's a natural sunflower field that's come up on our property, and wanted to walk through it and kind of show you some of the things about this field that's exciting and what we can use to hunt this field. Where are we going to hunt? So on and so forth. So let's get our bearings real quick if we can. Uh, so this is a 12-acre field, okay, and it is just a bare ground field. We've planted winter wheat in it. As you can see, it's near some really good deer habitat. Actually, have a blind right here, and there's a feeder over here as well. So, very, very, very good deer habitat. This is a lot of scrubby mesquite trees. Okay, so not a great roosting area for dove, but back over here, kind of off the map, there definitely is a really nice roosting area for dove. But so again, this is a 12-acre field that's actually been enclosed with a nice 5-strand barbed wire fence, and that's important. We'll get onto that here in a second. Along the borders of this field, especially on the kind of the western boundary, you do have some really, really nice mesquites that will provide a lot of good shade, and especially over here in the corner. In the corner, you've got I think it's a real nice hackberry tree. So, as far as shade is concerned, that is extraordinarily important when you're kind of planning your dove hunt. How are you going to cut this field? Um, because obviously comfort is a real concern, and something that needs to be considered. I went ahead and marked over here where the west is because obviously the sun's going to be setting over here. So if you're looking for shade, really along this western side, uh, especially when you're hunting in the evening, is going to be your ally for sure. So with that being said, I think it's kind of self-explanatory where you would probably want to at least start to cut this field. Now, of course, how you cut this field as far as strips are concerned in sunflowers. Okay, because again, I hope I mentioned this, but this field has come up in nothing but thick sunflowers, and they're all about the same age too, which is good because sometimes you can have natural sunflower fields that come up at different portions, and so it kind of makes it tricky cutting. But this entire 12 acres is one age group of sunflowers. So, from our perspective, for opening day of dove season, and really the following couple of weeks after that, what we'd want to do is take advantage of this shade. So, I have never been ever been a big proponent of stripping an entire field all at once. Okay, obviously, if you come in here and you strip this entire field as it is, the dove are going to use this red fence line, as you can see right here, and they're going to be able to feed all in here. Well, if you've got 50 guys stationed around this field, sure, you're going to be in great shape. But a lot of us don't have access that be able to get that many buddies down to dove hunt. So you need to try to set yourself up for success. And so in this particular instance, we're going to say 4 or 5, 6 guys at the most. And again, early on with the sun and it being really warm, we're going to position our guys over here along this fence line, in these trees, so that we're going to have some shade. Now, if we're hunting in the morning, we might come back out in here. So, but of course, all that remains to be seen. So, when it comes to cutting this field, assuming that all of our we've done everything correctly, okay, and meaning all the sunflowers are mature, so on and so forth. We're really going to want to come out. I really like 15 to 20 yards from where we're hunting, and that's where I like to kind of start my strips into the sunflowers. Okay, so in this particular scenario, we'll draw a tool here, and we're going to do this, and we'll do this in yellow. So if we're going to be hunting along this area again in the shade, okay, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go ahead and just make this entire area, okay, call it a, call it 5-10 yard little patch. Just make it a good clear zone, okay. So I'm gonna cut all the sunflowers to the ground right in here, okay. Then I'm gonna do some strips, kind of like this, like that, like that, like that, and then like this. So what that's going to do is, and again, I think the max from this point to this point needs to be about 30 yards or so. And so what we're doing is again, we're giving ourselves the opportunity to be in the shade, which is tremendous. We're giving ourselves a good area for the dove to land, but more importantly, we're giving ourselves visibility, so you can see down these alleys, so you can see the birds coming, okay. Now the important thing with a setup similar to this, is where you put your mojos, okay. If I would always put my mojos kind of right here, okay, and I actually put them right, maybe right about here, so that the strips aren't going to be blocking them, because birds are going to be coming from this big field out here as well, okay. So again, if we follow this particular model, then we're going to have some nice shade, and we're going to have some good cut areas, but that are not too far out there to where the birds are going to be completely and totally out of range. Okay, so that's kind of how I think I would handle that field, at least early on. Okay, now we're gonna try to delete all this kind of stuff out here. One of the things that you really don't want to do, in my opinion, again, we already mentioned, I don't like cutting the field, in its entirety, but I also wouldn't want to do strips like this. Okay, because if you do strips like this, again, if your hunters are set up over here, okay, you're and you shoot a bird, and it lands in this strip, or it lands over here, you're not going to be able to find it without a dog. Okay, so I really kind of like these vertical strips where you can look straight down. All right, so that's kind of my reasoning behind doing that. So, okay, so now let's fast forward. Okay, we're gonna buck the trend here and pretend that we are a non-average Texas dove hunter, meaning, and we hunt more than just 2 weekends in the year. Okay, so what are we gonna do? All right, well, early season, we had everything right in here, up to about 30 yards from this tree line, and that's all in good, okay? And life is great, and we've had a good time. Okay, well, now the sun is it's getting, or the heat is nowhere near intense. So now where are we going to set up? Okay, well, again, one could say, well, maybe you set up over here. Well, I mean, you could, okay, but regardless of how warm it is, you really don't want to be looking to that west sun. Okay, that's kind of just my opinion. All right, so if this area has played out, okay, and again, depending on how many dove you got in your area, and depending on when you cut this first area, which, by the way, needs to be about a week and a half before the season starts, in my opinion. This area could be completely and totally played out. Okay, and if that is, obviously we need to move. And so, kind of my thought is, again, depending on the weather and whatnot, maybe you come over here, and again, um, maybe you come over here, and we take a look at, what does this area look like. Okay, well, we can definitely see some trees. Okay, so we'll have a little bit of shade. Yeah, the sun will be coming right here, but it looks like you're still going to have a good area in here. So we're going to do the exact same thing over here. Put our strips right in here, put our landing zone, or kind of our dead zone right in there, and we're in good shape. Now, I tell you another reason why I like, for this particular area, and again, I know this area really well, is we've got farm equipment right here. Not farm equipment, but we've got farm ranching infrastructure right here. Okay, we've got holding pens for cattle, so on and so forth. You can't see it, but off the picture here, we've actually got a big telephone pole right here. So, by mid, or not mid, late September to early October, we're going to start to get a lot of migratory dove in here. Okay, and so they I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a scientific thing or whatever, but the dove really seem to like hanging around corrals, things of that nature. And yeah, somebody said, well, it's the grain, et cetera, et cetera. And that's definitely truth. And now, actuality, maybe that's the reason why, even though I can tell you right here, there's no grain in there per se, because again, if we just hold cows in there, okay. But maybe, when they're up in the Panhandle or in Oklahoma or whatnot, that's what they associate farm equipment with. So I may have just answered my own question there, but there's also some water in here as well. So for mid September to late September, again, maybe we're back over here, okay. So when it's all said and done, for this particular 12-acre field, we will have utilized pretty much, I'd say over, well over half of this field. Okay, yeah, you got this no man's land dead right in here, but that's okay. All right, there's nothing wrong with that. If you get out here and you not manipulate, but cut, the sunflowers in here, and then earlier on back in here, you're definitely going to utilize that field really well, in my opinion. Something else to kind of consider with this particular example is you can see this is actually an agricultural field. And so, ironically enough, we've actually got Sudan grass. Farmer has planted Sudan grass all through right here, and he has also planted Milo along here as well. So it's kind of funny. I'm dying to see how the Milo come up because, as I said, this is a big deer area in here. So these deer are just hanging out right here in the bush and waiting on the evening to come so they can go out there and eat all those little Milo heads. But this is going to be a really kind of interesting experiment. What's going to draw the birds better, the Milo or this native sunflower? Well, the one thing I can tell you, even if the Milo was going to be a big draw to them, the only area we'd be able to sit along is this fence line. Okay. And I can tell you these mesquite trees right here are nowhere near as mature and they don't overhang as much per se as these do right here. So it's going to be a really warm sit if we are sitting over there. So we're going to kind of take a gamble here. We're going to shoot for this again. Just seems to be a better place to sit in our opinion. Again, we've got the shade over here like we've talked about. This is a 5-strand barbed wire fence. Dove really seem to like to be able to land in a particular area and hang out there before they make the jump to go in there and feed. So again, um, having our mojo, if excuse me, if you're hunting this field, okay, and you're trying to figure out where to sit. If I'm a solo guy, it's be kind of interesting thing to talk about. If I'm a solo guy, I'm sitting back here. Okay, I'm sitting back here because that's where you got the best shade. You've got a commanding view of the field. Okay, but also let me get out some of these lines. All right, but also one of the things I would do if you're sitting right here by yourself, okay, is that you've got this fence line. So the dove hopefully will be comfortable coming in here and landing. Okay, and you put your mojos right out here. Ooh, I think you are going to have yourselves a great hunt. Okay, if you really wanted to, you maybe risk it and sit right here. Okay, and that way you can kind of catch them coming over this fence. But obviously, if you're not careful, I think they're going to have a tendency to land on this fence. So if they land on that fence, unless you want to shoot them off the fence, which is obviously completely and totally legal, you can certainly do so, but I think you run the chance of them flying this way, landing right here on the fence, but seeing you, and then obviously heading back that way. So if you're a single hunter in this particular situation, or one or two guys, I would kind of trend more towards this area if I could. So anyway, I thought this would be kind of an interesting little video. Again, this is just kind of a breakdown of how I would hunt a particular 12-acre field. Right now, it's still early August, so we are not going to be out here shredding. But when we do, I think this is going to be the primary area we will target. And then later in the season, when things cool down, quote unquote, we will be right out in here, and we'll see how we do.